notes and reference it at a later date. We're going to be posting it on YouTube. And as well, any questions you have, put it in the chat, and then we can hopefully answer a few of those at the end of the presentation. And then if you feel like you needed to dive deeper for any reason, or maybe needed a little bit more one-on-one help, both Brittany and I would be available, you know, I don't know, through the course of the next few months to just kind of revisit. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so what exactly are we going to go over today and cover? We're going to talk about the importance of a photo for your feed and what that translates to in terms of customer interaction and making your clients aware of who and what you are. We're going to talk a little bit about telling your story, you know, the narrative behind your business, who you are, what services you provide, and doing it in an authentic manner. I think especially during this time with COVID, lots of people just want to connect and, you know, see the real you, and be assured that whomever they're investing their money in or their time in is somebody who can connect with them and just understand where they're coming from. We'll talk about some of the tools that you can use, whether it's you who's running your Instagram account, or maybe you have a team of people who collaborate and work on the account together. We'll just talk about some of the fun free tools that you can use, and then some of the new features that you can experiment with if you feel comfortable using the platform. Okay, so first things up is like the importance of the photo and what that means. To be sure that you're consistent with your message, being able to repurpose photos at any point in time, and just kind of practicing posting and putting content out there for your customers and clients to interact with. Okay, so one of the most important things for an Instagram feed is the consistency in your images. And what that looks like is when you're starting off, or maybe you're rebranding, or you want to, you know, start off fresh with your account, you need to decide like what your photo aesthetic is going to be. Are you going to be somebody that you know, sets a moody tone for your account? Are you going to be somebody that prefers to use black and white photos for your account? Or maybe you want like a certain color scheme to be consistent throughout the feed. And whatever that style is, there is no right or wrong. You need to be consistent with that throughout your feed, because what many people do is, however which way they arrive to your account, within the first 2-3 seconds, they're going to decide if they're going to follow you. So if they look at your account and you have a mix of black and white photos and dark photos that are difficult to see, and then bright and airy photos, it's going to be hard for them to know like what they're looking at, or what they're getting themselves into. So finding that photo aesthetic is important. Some of the ways that you can determine how you want to present your account to people is editing photos and using filters. Now, this can be done in the app. In fact, every photo that you do post should be edited at some point or another. Even if you're not highly skilled in photography, it's actually pretty easy to just go into the photo, maybe lighten it up a bit, sharpen it, give it some warmth. It's really just like moving a bar back and forth and then posting it. Or maybe you are a company that wants to kind of set the tone of feeling vintage. So you're going to be able to you know, create a vintage look with one of the filters, and again, use that consistently throughout your feed so that you send that message of being cohesive, being on brand, and paying attention to what the narrative is that you're going through. Now, if you're completely lost with photography and you feel like that's one of the things that's holding you back, I know oftentimes part of the reason that people hold back from posting is like, oh, I have no great photos. Well, there are presets that you can actually purchase, and we can put in the chat, or after this we could send it out. But even I have used personally some presets that can be built into a free app called Lightroom, and you buy it and it even shows you like the mood or the style of the photo. They're really economical in price, and you can apply that preset to every photo before you post it. So that's just a nice kind of cheat tool for those people that might not feel like they, have any sense of photography skills. It's just a good way to create consistency.
And just so you all know, I just put the website for what Maggie uses, 123presets.com, into the
Mhm.
chat box.
Yeah. All right, we can go to the next slide. Okay. So honing in again on photography, photos, having those available to post. Really, if you were to make a decision about like what your business represents, so Brittany and I thought like Open Outcry was a great example. So John takes a lot of photos right outside the brewery with, the door open, the door closed. He will put, new beer releases, merchandise in front of that. So he'll either use the same background because he wants people to recognize and associate his business with the front entrance of the brewery. So he might reuse the same photo, but with that, you can write a different feed post. So you can change up what you want to inform your customers about, what you might be talking about for the week, but still use the same photo. One suggestion that I have personally is try to reuse that photo sporadically. So I know for myself, I'll use a photo, but my personal rule is try not to use that photo more than once in a month. Just because, again, when somebody's looking at your feed, you want to get a sense of variety and for them to be able to digest the whole picture of your brand, of your service, business, whatever it might be. Another great tactic and easy is just going at it at a different angle. Not every photo needs to have the item or the product or the person front and center. You could go close up. You can capture, from the top of the ground going up, different angles, but again, the same setting can still serve the audience in a great way. And then be creative, think about when somebody is, contacting you or walking into your salon or walking into the bakery, like what do you want for them to feel? What do you want for them to know and take away? And that should really tell the story in your Instagram feed. If you wake up in the morning and you're somebody who like has your to-do list before you get on the call with potential clients, or maybe you're a photographer and you want to always show everybody the type of equipment that you're using to take their portrait shots of their family, or maybe you're a retail and every day you water the plants. Whatever your story is and whatever you want to communicate to that group, that is the way Instagram can be used to just show everybody and to kind of give them a peek inside of what you do, who you are, and how you're ready to serve them.
And just one thing I wanted to add, again, with Open Outcry, they have beer and pizza. And like, when I think about it, I'm like, you're so creative. How do you manage to, fill up your feed with like just different photos of beer, different
Mhm.
pictures of the pizza coming out of the oven? But I think John does a really great job. He'll take a photo with somebody drinking it, or it'll be sitting on a counter, or it'll be sitting next to some of the ingredients that are in the beer. So take a scroll through his feed and see kind of how he uses the same product over and over in different and creative ways.
Mhm. Yeah. And especially if like you're somebody who focuses particularly on one thing, that is a way for you to be creative and showcase that, you know. Again, just reminding your customers and your clientele like what you're about and what you can discover when either hiring them or visiting their shop, or you know, engaging them in some sort of service. Okay. So, one of the things we have to remember is Instagram is still a very visual based platform. And so, people are going to invest more time on your feed. They're going to engage more with what you post and talk about if the photo is clear, that the lighting is okay, and that the whole scene is set right. And so taking great photos is of real importance, in order to kind of hold that client and keep them as a part of, you know, your following as you evolve in your business. And so when you are taking photos, you really need to just take into consideration like the amount of natural light that there is. What do you have going on in the background before you take your pictures? Props are a great way to, again, add variety to taking a photo, but also making it a little bit different. And I know photography, I mean, I'm not a photographer whatsoever, but you'd be surprised at if you even like work within natural light and kind of play around and experiment, that your iPhone can be a great tool to use. And then from there, you would go ahead and either, you know, brighten up the photo as we were talking about before, maybe use some of those Lightroom presets to kind of put warmth into the photos, and just kind of play around with it a little bit to make it clear, and have that be something that's on your feed. Um, you know, a lot of times as well, if you're looking to kind of do some more styled photos, you know, I always say that people in photos are much more well received than just constant like products. So if you're somebody, let's say, that sells jewelry, and all you keep doing is taking photos of like the rings and the bracelets and, you know, the cuffs, but yet you have no photo of somebody wearing it or styling it with a sweater, or, you know, the best pair of earrings to wear on a Zoom call, if you're not showing your customers like how they can use that product, it's going to be difficult for them to imagine themselves using it. So, you know, staging and involving some of your friends or whatnot to help you take those pictures. Okay. One of the most important things nowadays, just with restrictions that we have, limited seating, you know, limited people coming into shops and having those one-on-one conversations with you, is that you need to take a step back and really think about being authentic on your feed. Now, everybody has privacy, and kind of like that line drawn of how far they'll go. I know even for myself, I have decided like within my brand and, you know, the message that I want to communicate, that I won't talk about certain things. They're just private. They're for my family, they're for me to know. But people really enjoy seeing the person um, behind the company. Whether it's, you know, you're having to do a video to talk about your services and you make a mistake, show them that you made the mistake. Let them know that, you know, you're a person just like everyone else, and you had to like practice the video 3 or 4 times. Or maybe you're somebody who makes something with their hands and you want to give them insight into that, you're trying to decide on a color scheme. You know, let the audience know that you're there to serve them, to connect with them, and just telling little stories here and there that are on brand with what you represent can really make a difference in connecting with a customer. And it might not happen immediately. I mean, if you think of how we are as people and how we choose to purchase, it takes a while for us to become familiar with somebody, to kind of like let them in. So if you're consistent with posting and you show them some of the behind the scenes, whether it be within your feed or maybe in your stories, eventually that person is going to decide that you serve them well, that you have something in common, and that you're a trustworthy person that they can go ahead and do business with. So Amy from Turkey, Brittany thought of this, and it's a great example, and I've noticed it tremendously with myself, is show your face. And I know, believe me, like super awkward sometimes, but in business, I feel like even from when you're starting off or you're 10 years into the business, now is the best time to like build up that courage, go outside the box, feel discomfort, and put your face out there, because people want to see that, and they relate to that, and they feel a connection with that. And so showing your face is something that I know people can be reluctant about, but it does tend to get easier. It's like practice, 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 practice makes perfect. So, even if you want to try a few things here or there, and just like having somebody take a picture and put it on the feed, maybe you're not ready to like do a video or to do an IGTV because it makes you nervous to kind of talk or present yourself in front of people. That's fine. Take it easy as it goes. But I know Brittany had pulled this photo in particular. Brittany, if you wanted to talk a little bit about it, what you had noticed with Turkey's feed about Amy's photo there.
Yeah, so I pulled this photo because, I think it was like the first time in a while that Amy had gotten up in front of the camera and taken a photo of her in front of the store. They typically get about like, I think 60 to 80 likes on their photos that they post. This one got 275 likes, and they only have like 1,800 followers. So, I mean, you can just see there's people really engage with that, and they want to see that. I think that they also have been doing a good job doing IGTV,
Mm-hmm.
and videos and reels. And Amy has even gotten on and talked about some of her passions personally. And I think that makes a really big difference, in the amount of people that are seeing your posts.
Yeah. And that also
Engage
goes
with them.
And that also goes with saying, like, depending on your business model, maybe there's a team of you. Maybe it's not just you, but there's a collective group of 4 or 5 individuals, and everybody has a different role. I know, like, especially during this time of quarantine and working remote and not being able to go into an office, a lot of people really like to see, like, who makes up your team. You have somebody who's in charge of packaging. You have another person who's in charge of customer service. Include them in your narrative. And even, if somebody is a little bit more comfortable, maybe start off with them being the person that, does a video and talks and shows something about your business. But it could be you, it could be, your team. There's some creative ways to show your face, even if you're a little bit reluctant to do that. Okay, so staying on brand. Again, we're talking about consistency with photos, consistency with what your photo feed looks like on your account. But staying on brand is important for a few reasons. And something that I have learned that has helped me in developing content, with Instagram is like, what is your top 10 list of things or topics or items that your brand represents? It's not always maybe about selling something, but maybe you love to talk about how you use eco-friendly packaging, or maybe you love to talk about different hairstyles to use when you have to be, in front of the camera and they're quick or something like that. You have to kind of make a decision on like what that world is going to be like, and you need to stay on brand, because if you're consistently kind of veering off and talking about things that won't tell your story, you're going to give mixed messages, and people are not going to be sure like what you're about. So you need to be consistent with how you address the audience, both with your feed, the captions, as well as the stories, and as well asking questions or doing polls, or asking for recommendations. People, the world love doing that. So Brittany and I were talking yesterday, and one of the things that I need to do for my business is I have to go through a bunch of different textiles with the artisans and decide which ones I should, bring over here into the United States. And I used to just kind of like go with my instinct, find out what was on trend, decide like what works well with, different styles of houses and coffee shops, things like that. But then I decided to start incorporating questions of like, okay, do you like this, color, or do you like that color? Or would you buy, 5 of these or 10 of these? And I created polls. And the more that you create an opportunity for your customer or client to engage with you, it's only going to create a more robust account engagement. So I also had done like a little bit of like a, I don't know, like a giveaway with somebody. And there's like this bar that you just simply like slide over. And I was able to see everybody who went ahead and slid the bar over. And that is a great opportunity for you to connect with your customers by responding to them. If you see the polls and 20 people answered yes and 30 people answered no, I've gone in and actually personally responded to all of those people, thanking them for taking the time to vote, and that their opinion matters for the future of my business, because people like to see that they're valued, and that their opinion can be contributed to kind of the future of your business. And as well, like sharing experiences and letting people into your world. As I said, for some maybe one-on-one help, but especially with stories, which for those that might not necessarily know the realm of stories, is stories are only on your feed for 24 hours, where a feed post is there until you either archive it or delete it. So stories is a great way to kind of like let people in, but know that in 24 hours that disappears. So I remember talking with Sonia and Greta one time of 2 Mile Coffee, and they said that like they need to post to stories every morning to kind of remind the neighborhood, remind their customers that like, hey, we're open, or hey, today we're experimenting with, I don't know, like a cortado or something like that. So they know that with their business serving coffee early in the morning, if they're not generating some stories and putting out like information that they're opening at 7 and that like someone's there to greet you, and now their space can have, I don't know, 20% of people. If they're not doing that, they actually notice a dip in sales for the day. So depending on your business, you might need to target people at different times of the day. And that's where you can use stories to really engage with people and share your experiences, and then respond to them on a private level with like, DMs, or just like thanking them for involving themselves in your business.
Yeah, and just for personal experience for me, on my personal Instagram, I might not see a lot of places on my actual feed where I'm scrolling, like a lot of local places. Like a lot of time, I'm getting bigger companies, people with more followers that show up on my feed. My stories are really where I see the people I actually want to see. like the smaller local businesses or friends or anything like that. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
You're right, because the reality is for Instagram right now, because you can pay to have a sponsored post or advertise, sometimes the struggle for your content to show up on other people's feed is going to be a challenge. And I recognize that. But that's ever the more reason to be consistent. So which we'll talk about how to do that. So maybe I'll hold back. But one other item is, with stories being there for 24 hours, there is a little icon at the top of your account that as long as you're consistently running those stories, your icon will always be pushed to the front. And so, Brittany, to your point, like I will specifically go on to Instagram and go to stories of different businesses and things like that, just to kind of see like, okay, what are they up to for the day? Are they closing early because we've had crazy snowstorms? Or I know Mary with Beverly Dry Goods, she like put in her stories that they had spent all that time shoveling. So, oh, great, it's shoveled. Now I know that I can head there and visit the different businesses on Walden Parkway. So it's just a really good place to kind of work in that updated information for that day or for the following day. Okay, so again, I know that photography can be intimidating for people. And if after this call you wanted to reach out to Brittany and I, we wanted to just talk a little bit about like tools to utilize for like photos, graphics, and planning. And so I know for myself, if I'm ever going to be talking live on Instagram or even like something like this, I'm a hand user. I use my hands for everything. So I know that if I have a tripod set up and I don't have to hold my phone, I'm going to be more natural. If I hold my phone, I feel awkward. I get nervous because it's like my mind knows that I'm doing that. So a simple tripod purchased off of Amazon can help you achieve some of those, business goals of showing your face more and, hosting a video about, um, you know, painting nails or something like that. Lighting is great. So natural light. So I'm sitting in a room today with great natural light. So it's easy visible, but sometimes you might be like in an office, like I know Brittany, you have the light in your office where maybe the light is a little bit more artificial, or you're going to be doing some presentation, after 5 o'clock. A light ring, which is the one all the way to the right, holds your phone. It provides light, and they even have a little remote so that you can sit back, click the remote, and then begin your conversation. So I would encourage you to explore on Amazon, and you do not have to spend a lot of monies. These things, they're readily accessible. They are kind of like the tools to use when starting off or trying to like improve your presence. And then something as well, which is like a great way to provide consistency, is like stock photos. And I'm not sure if people have used those before, like in different presentations like that, but you can either purchase stacked photos, like let's say you want to be really specific about the imagery that you're using to tell a story. You can pay them. I think I've purchased ones anywhere from like $5 to $15, but there are also some free complimentary sites where you can simply do a search for something like, so let's say you are starting I don't know, a catering business, and you want to talk about how you're offering now fresh bread to, everybody who orders soup. You can Google into the free like the photo stock, write bread, and there's a bunch of images that you can download onto your computer or onto your phone, and now you can save that photo and use that in your feed. So that's just some of the initial tools to help out while starting off, or kind of, reconnecting with your Instagram account.
Mhm. And the ring light's nice to use for like product shots as well. We just used ours to take some pictures the other day for the south side Irish Parade party pack that's
Yeah.
coming, by the way. And it worked really well.
Yeah, and actually that reminds me, sorry, before you go into there, if you are a product-based, business, a light box is like a miracle. So if you're somebody who like creates like art on, I don't know, glasses or something like that, you can just buy a little box that truly the entire inside is white and there's some extra lighting there. And you just take your iPhone, you snap the picture, maybe you do a little adjustment within the Instagram app to kind of lighten it up. And that is how people get those clean photos of product with white background. So I would just invite you to like explore on Amazon and maybe try out one or two things, and you'll start to understand how important those tools are for sending the right message for your brand.
So I will talk about Canva, which is it's a tool that I actually used to create this presentation. By the way, does anyone see those yellow lines? Is that viewable for everyone?
I do see those, yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't leave your computer open when you have kids. I don't know where those came from. Um, anyway, so Canva is a great tool to use. I just started using it for BAPA, and I've used it for stories, Instagram posts, Facebook event covers, newsletters. We did our e-news platform off of it. I did it for this presentation. It has such a wide variety of templates that you can build off of. And they also, I would recommend, if you're going to use it a lot, to pay for it. It's a nominal fee. I think it's 15 a month, Maggie.
Yeah, I think I paid for a 1-year subscription because I was using it so much. It was like $200 or something like that. I know that it wasn't extremely expensive because I think I probably would not have done it then.
Yeah, it's a lot of people will use it. There's an app, as well as you can just go on the website canva.com and create a profile. You can use the free platform, or like we said, you can pay for a monthly or yearly subscription for it. You can pull stock photos from that as well. And it's really just an amazing tool to work with teams with as well. You can have a team set up in the platform where you can see the same designs that you're making, and you can all edit those designs and download those designs to your computer. There's also a tool you can use called a brand kit, where you can upload specific colors, as well as fonts, so that you can use those and then share those with your team, so that you can all use those in any of the designs that you're creating for your company or brand.
Yeah, and what I've found recently with Canva over the past few months is I do not have any graphic design skills, and so Canva really helped me elevate basically like my pieces of, to your point, like brand kits, or maybe you are going to be launching some new services, and this can all be printed as well. So you can design, use some of the colors, the fonts, the imagery, even like the geometrics of that, and you can download it like a PDF, and then you can have it printed. So I have found personally for Canva to really be like my right hand for graphic design, because up until then my stuff was just not polished. It felt messy, and Canva has been great for that. As Brittany said, this is what we used for the presentation. So the font choices, the different fonts within one slide, those are all things that kind of came as templates. I know we modified a few things, but it really puts a lot of work already in there and allows you to be creative. And it's much more economical than actually working directly with a graphic designer. So I feel like in terms of small business, we always have to watch like how we spend our money. And this, it's like it's a fabulous tool to become familiar with. And I found it very easy, to use. Like it's not complex.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can catch on very quickly.
Mhm.
They make it user friendly for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to hold back one of my other comments earlier to talk a little bit about content management and some tools that you or your team can use to kind of set yourself up for success. So you can use different tools like Later, Buffer, and Hootsuite to actually set your posts up to auto post. So one of the great examples that I try to think of is, let's say there might be 2 or 3 people that manage your Instagram account. And again, going back to consistency, you want to make sure that that message is delivered to your audience in the same tone, in the same voice. You as a group can kind of set up your posts for the week, from deciding on the image, deciding when it will post, um, knowing which kinds of hashtags you want to use. And then maybe someone else in your organization can be the person that reviews them and approves them, and then they're good to go, and they'll auto send. So I have a staff member that works with me who helps me kind of set up some of my posts in Later, which is just my personal preferred platform. And in fact, I use the free version because we all like free things. So, so there are a few little restrictions here and there, but they are not monumental. And so she'll set up the posts for me in Later and kind of choose some of the images. She might start off some of the captions, and then I'll go through, I'll review them, I'll spell check them, I'll verify that, the hashtags that we want to use are on target. And then once they're review and approved, then they'll auto publish for the week, or it could even be for the month. So I think it does a few things. Number one, it lets you become familiar with your voice and your message that you want to communicate. And for those of us that might feel, oh gosh, with all the other things that I have going on in my life, I always forget, to post to Instagram, and I haven't posted in 3 weeks. Well, remember that, your feed posts are not visible to everybody. So that's where the consistency comes in, is you need to be consistent. You need to show up. So one of these content management tools can allow for you, maybe you have a down day on Tuesday, or maybe you're somebody, I saw that there was like an organizational person here that you love to like set up your agenda on Mondays for the rest of the week. Carve out an hour, carve out, 30 minutes at 2 different times of the week, set up your posts, work on them, dedicate the time to that, and then you're done. And then you don't have to worry about, forgetting to post, or, oh shoot, I wanted to post, but now it's too late. It's 8 o'clock at night, and my, whatever I was going to write doesn't apply anymore. This is a great way to kind of feel organized and be consistent. And again, I find them, I use Later. I know, Brittany, you've used Buffer and Hootsuite. Later serves me for where I am at right now. It just helps me feel organized. So I would encourage you, again, they're an app, so you can do it from your phone. Or you can do it on a desktop, depending on where your photos are held, and just play around with it. Even if you want to set up like for the first 3 days, you don't have to create a whole content calendar for the entire month, but maybe even just start out with a week.
Yeah, and these all have free options as well.
Yeah. Okay. So we've gone through some of the, what we would call basics of Instagram, and now we get into the fun part. So some of the new features that Instagram has launched is something called Reels and something called Guides. And they are, again, ways for you to interact with your customers in a fun, interactive way. So Reels is really, if you think about it, it's kind of like a mini commercial, right? It's a way for you to piece together 15-second, 30-second videos of like what you're about. So maybe you're starting, I don't know, an Airbnb somewhere, and you want to showcase what are the surrounding, parks and activities for kids. So you could simply just kind of drive around and take a 3-second shot of the ice cream shop and a 3-second shot of the pool or the park. And you can put it all together into this 15-second or 30-second interval. You can add music to it and really just make it fun. So that's a nice thing. I created one, and that's a little bit where you can kind of, I don't want to say like go off brand, but remember, if you want to stay within your categories of what you're talking about, sometimes to do something a little fun. I know I just did one where I like to visit different coffee shops and things like that. And so I went downtown and I just like, took a few videos of walking into the bakery, walking up to the counter with all the pastries and then doing a little pan view of just like what the bakery looked like. And I just shared that to my reels for just kind of some fun and interaction. Guides, these are not as well, I would say, talked about as something like a reel, but I still find them really fun and a great way to be concise and kind of store content altogether. So another example that I had used for guides is I really wanted to showcase some Midwest female owned boutiques. So I said, my top 10 female owned boutiques that like I would love to visit or I have visited. And if you go to my account, you'll see, 10 photos, and I give a little, one-liner description, from one from Louisville, one from Cincinnati, one from, here in Beverly. So it's just a fun way to kind of collect information. Or maybe you're a like I was thinking like Banny's Beets or something like that, where she has the fresh pressed juices. Maybe she wants to talk about like the 10 best ways to like use the drink. Like maybe it's after a workout, maybe it's when you're running to go drop your kids off, or maybe it's if you just kind of like want to reset your health. And you can, it's almost like creating a little magazine. So that's another fun way to use the platform, become familiar with some of the tools and have fun with it. And also, um, you know, Instagram and social media, I have always thought of it as using it in a positive way. So I have created wonderful relationships with people to where, like, if I've come up with like an issue or I can't figure out something, like there are people all across the globe that like, hey, did you figure out this? Or I'm having trouble like doing this. Guides is a great way to like collaborate with people because you're pulling in different photos, different locations, and compiling them into one kind of small magazine and putting it on your feed. And it's just a good way to collaborate and involve yourself with different entrepreneurs or different businesses. Like, let's say you're a catering company, like my top 10 I don't know, best soups that a catering company makes. It's just a fun way to collaborate and enjoy working with each other in similar industries.
Yeah, and something to think about too is that if like Instagram will take note of the fact that you're using the new tools that they roll out, and it will help you get pushed to the top of the feed. It'll help you in terms of the algorithm. So make sure you are kind of keeping in touch with that and trying it out at least, if you want to be seen more by your followers.
Yeah.
Maggie, really quick before we get to question and answer, do you want to give everyone an example of kind of how you use certain things that you like in your brand? Like, what are the things that you talk about that relate to your brand specifically on your Instagram, like travel, and how
Sure.
does, yeah.
So what
example.
I call is like my top 10 is, so I'm a textile company. I work with artisans in Peru and Morocco. So number one, I talk about the product. Number two and three, I talk about Peru and Morocco. The fourth one is, aside from just working with artisans in Peru and Morocco, like I love travel, I love culture. So I include travel as a part of it. I include myself as a part of my brand because, as we said earlier, a lot of people relate to a company or a brand from the owner or the team. So I create myself as somebody. I use Beverly a lot. It's just been a place that has I don't know, been great to me. So I, definitely talk about living in Beverly, south side of Chicago, entrepreneur. That's one of the things. I do a lot, I invest a lot in like styled photo shoots. So I love creating a story from an image and, using different locations to take those photos. So not only is it like product based with a white background, but I love getting into those styled photo shoots. Those are a few that I really focus on. And then like small businesses. So when I'm traveling and mainly like retail for female, because that's where my product would be, sold. So I love to include other female small businesses as part of my narrative. Those are just a few, but if after this you're sitting there being like, oh my God, like what, doesn't have to be 10. It could be like 6, 7, 8. But the whole exercise is to not keep talking about something that just feels very disconnected from your brand, right? So if after this, I know Brittany has her email here. She could always share mine. If you need any help kind of coming up with your top 10 or your top 8, or you just need for us to like reconfirm, we're more than happy to just review those. I mean, it's easy for us to help you out with that.
And I can drop your email in the chat box, Maggie, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
So we'll get to Q&A. Thanks everyone for listening. Let's see. We have, lots of chats, so bear with me. And if you want to unmute now and ask a question, please do.
Can I ask a question? Maggie, I know you talked about the presets, and I am very interested in trying to figure out how to do it. I bought presets from some website, and I have the Lightroom app, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it now. I'm very confused about it, and maybe there's something for later, but I love the idea of using them and having that, consistent image. One question is, do you use, can you take a picture that you already have and then change it?
Yes.
Is that what you do? Or do you put it on before you take the picture?
No, you can. So the presets are all happen after the photo's been taken.
Okay.
One thing you want to make sure you do is, if you're going to purchase the presets, make sure, like if you're somebody who's going to use it on a mobile device, that you purchase the mobile device preset, because there's mobile device presets and desktop presets. But you can go through a folder of photos, and usually like the presets that I had were like 8 to 10 small variation, but still provided like the same consistent, like I think I chose like light and airy because
that's what I picked.
Because I love the way that my colors show up with
Right.
it. So I did like one was light and airy and one was like indoor for when I take things indoor. So you do have to push those presets into Lightroom, which is a free app. And then you would just, I'll probably have to show you like one-on-one, but for those people, it's like, you'd have to then like download that preset into Lightroom. And so then and what the preset is somebody who's a really talented photographer has gone in and kind of set the measurements of like warmth and saturation and bright and all of that, so that when you apply it, it does all of that to the photo. Now, obviously you might have to like, tweak here and there, but it's a great step that kind of cuts a lot of the legwork out of trying to figure it out yourself if you don't have a lot of, photography skills.
Yeah.
off of.
And you can definitely see the difference. You'll see somebody that's using that type of preset and
Mhm.
they're just beautiful. They really do wonders for photos. So I would recommend it. I just have to start. I think I'm stuck trying to get the preset into Lightroom.
Lightroom. And that took me a little bit of time too. So I can completely relate to that. And then I have the chat up here to continue off of that. A girl named Amy said like Skillshare has some great classes for iPhone photography and Lightroom. So Skillshare that's a great item to talk about, Amy. Skillshare is basically like a way to take online classes in whatever you want to know, like sketching, coffee art or whatnot. But if you want to start becoming familiar with like using the Lightroom app and using your iPhone as a great resource for taking photos, you can log on to Skillshare and pay a nominal fee to have a class. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
TC has a question.
Yeah, I'm really new to Instagram. I had a really quick question about, does Instagram allow you to like include music or audio? And if so, do you recommend doing that?
So it's odd because I know that using music has certain restrictions within Instagram because of licensing. So unfortunately, it depends on your account and if Instagram wants to give you music. There's like nothing you can do if it's not a part. I mean, I struggled with it for a while. For months and months, I had no music. And then all of a sudden, Instagram gave me music. And when I say gave me, all of a sudden it was like part of an option that I could use. But now with my Mita account, they've restricted the kind of music that I can use. Like the really random list of musicians that I don't know. But
Okay.
I make it work. And especially like when I'm creating a story, which is those 24-hour scenarios. And let's say I'm like videotaping outside doing something, and there's a lot of background noise and there's like trucks going by. That's a great way to use music because you can still show the video without all of the crazy noise and stuff like that. So I do encourage you to use it. I feel like it's a fun way to kind of be creative and capture your audience. But there's not a lot you can do with your account ready to
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure, of course.
Okay, so there was actually a question kind of up there. It was what's the difference between stories and an image? And I think I can't remember who it was, but I think by that they meant a grid post.
Okay, so the grid post is the squares that are three across in rows, and that's where you are going to write your caption, and that's what's housed on your account essentially forever until you either delete it or archive it. The stories is that 24-hour opportunity that you can upload a story and after 24 hours it disappears. So the grid is a permanent post that has the picture, and the stories is a 24-hour. Now, one quick side note is if you are looking to refresh your account, or after you've heard the presentation, you're like, oh man, I need to do some work. You can archive or delete past posts that you feel now do not apply to like how you want your business to go. Like I've done that before, especially as your business evolves. I mean, if I can look back 2 years ago on a post, maybe it's just something that I, don't want anymore. So it is okay to kind of do a refresh and remove anything if you're thinking about trying some different ideas. But hopefully that answered the question for the stories and the grid post.
Yeah, and then we did have one other question about Lincoln bio, Lincoln biography. So that is actually going to be a web address or a hyperlink, and it'll be in the actual profile on the main Instagram page as a website that you can click through.
Yeah, and one mistake that people do is in your caption. So in your feed caption, you cannot have links that they don't click. And in fact, it kind of makes your caption look messy because it doesn't serve. But like, for example, I'm doing a webinar tomorrow night about travel, and I'm encouraging people to go to the link in my bio to click and purchase tickets. And so I'm housing the web link up there so that if someone reads the caption, they'll go back to my main account and they can click it and it's hyperlinked.
Yep. Does anyone else have any questions before we close it out? We're just after 10 right now, so just right on time. I don't think so. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you, Maggie, for working with us on this and hosting the webinar. I helped you with the presentation and I still learned stuff today, so I appreciate it. And also just want to thank Caroline Connors with Morgan Park Beverly Hills Business Association, Aaron Ross from 95th Street Business Association for being a part of the presentation, helping us get the word out, and also Mary Jo from BAPA.
Thank
And everyone that came.
Yes, I'm thrilled that we had so many participants today, and hopefully all of you learned something that's going to help your businesses. That's the whole goal here. And we're just so grateful that Maggie can share her expertise, and Brittany, I think you guys are a great team and you can share so much knowledge, and we really appreciate it. So follow up with us if you need more help. We are always here for you. So we want to help your business in any way. So again, thanks again, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.